Have you ever had an idea that was so clear it was like a 3D movie? Have you ever told a friend about the idea and they told you, wow, if you could only make that into a business, you would be rich? Sound familiar? Welcome to Knowledge to Currency. I'm your host, Senator Porter, with my co-host, Roosevelt Williams III, and we're here to help you take action. This is free information. We only ask one thing: build a strong foundation and mindset. We have insight to help you get started. Most of us just need a push.
Hey, it's Grant from Petco Park.
And this is Cheyenne, and we're a shout out to YBMMP for partnering with us today for our theme game.
Have a good day.
What's up? Welcome to episode of Knowledge to Currency. Our guest, I'm Senator Porter. This is Roosevelt Williams III.
Happy to be here.
And our guest today is Henish from Calhoun Construction.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
We appreciate you being here on the show. So as a business owner, you own more than one business. So let's go through them. You have real estate.
Correct.
Construction company.
Correct.
Rental property.
Correct.
What am I missing?
I am also a fractional owner of a transaction coordination company as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's 4 streams of income, right?
Yep.
So that's how you can live in San Diego?
That's it. And, I do little hacks along the way as well, where I have an office space, showroom, event space, where after business hours and on weekends, I rent that out. And that makes a few $1,000s too.
Every little bit helps, right?
Might as well. If I'm not using it and someone else could benefit and it's nice for them.
Very nice.
It's a win-win, right?
Right.
Very nice.
Go for it.
I like how you're being able to optimize every business. And I like to say how, you're getting a juice from a turnip because tomorrow's not promised.
Sure.
So where did you get that mindset, that philosophy from?
There's a lot of good mentors out there, and there's people that are doing this. Nothing I'm doing is super original. It's execution. That's the difference, right? It's like you can talk about it and think about it, but doing it is what it takes, right? So when you have that idea and you want to put it in play and you get the right people in and you put the effort in and then you execute.
Yep.
Absolutely. What sparked the mindset, the transition from going from a think tank to a do tank? What sparked that concept?
There's been a lot of different people I've met along the way that have given me some inspiration, and so with business, with opportunities, with real estate, what you find is that when you're new, every deal looks like a good deal. When you're experienced, less and less look like a good deal, and you're like, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100.
Sure.
But trying to figure out what goes from a good deal to a great deal is how you make those hits, So I've heard of other people in my line of work, like say, for example, flipping houses, one of the things I do. Some people tell you that they lose money on 20 to 30% of the homes they flip. Wow. I was shocked. I was like, that's huge. I've done over 100 and only lost money on 1. Those are the odds that I like,
Right.
And so the getting it together like that and understanding the deals makes sense, right? When someone sends me a flip and says, buy for 800, sell for 900, well, right there, I don't make any money. That's a break-even deal, best case, if I put $0 into it. Mm-hmm. Right? Because some people don't understand all the costs associated with buying and selling properties, right?
Right.
And I've had help along the way. I didn't do it all on my own. When I first started, I had a partner that had a lot more experience, right? I think this is a good deal. Can you vet this out? Yes, it is. No, it's not. Pass. Next one. Right, quickly, right? And I'm still getting those people, right? In fact, next week we're going to lunch with a guy that can help me do feasibilities on larger development projects.
Okay.
So now I can do flip projects in my head, right? I don't need the spreadsheet anymore. But the larger development ones where it's like, take a 4 unit and turn it into a 40 unit, or take a single family and turn it into a 10 unit. And there's a lot of opportunities like that here in San Diego and throughout the cities. Well, that spreadsheet is a little more complicated than I can do in my head. And so getting that practice in is worth it. As you're stepping up to the plate and you're taking swings, and that's what happens. And so fortunately, these swings don't cost me a lot of money, but they cost me some time.
Sure.
I'm trying to get the right people together that can coach me through it, or partnering with people that have done it before, right? So I've been meeting with developers and meeting with people that are where I aspire to be too, as I'm playing real life Monopoly.
Sure.
and saying, hey, here's the leads. I'm happy to split it however you think is fair, but I need you to teach me along the way.
Which is smart. Instead of that, so then you basically have them invest with you with your time, energy, and then you don't have to necessarily pay for the coaching because you're working on a deal together.
Correct. And so we're riding it on together, and now it's like, sink or swim together, and they don't want to make a mistake. So it's like me with flips. I know when I'm going to make money or not.
Sure.
With guys that are experienced at whatever level they're at, and if I can work with them, well, they're used to hitting 99% of the time, right? That's the guys I want to work with.
Yeah, not the 80% guys.
Nah, that's fine, but the 20% that hurt can really hurt.
Yeah, well,
that's the problem.
Absolutely. I was going to say, so one of the things that inspired me about you is obviously you're a family man, children of 3, 2 boys, a daughter, a wife. You maintain your business side of things, like you take care of work, but you definitely take care of family. How do you balance that?
I am strict on my schedule. Real strict, Showed up here right on time.
Yep.
I would have preferred to be 5 minutes early, but, right after this, I got to be home to relieve the babysitter. And so we know who's doing what at what time. And, I share calendars with my wife and my, full-time babysitter and my coworkers. And so everyone knows. And so it's good because people don't have to check with me before they book me, right? You can use tools like Calendly to say, here's some time that I'll give to you. Book it off, Unfortunately, I don't have too many people abusing my time. So it's always a worthwhile meeting for me to say, block off 30 minutes, we can Zoom it or come visit my office, and we're getting a lot done, right? And I've always found that productive. And then fortunately, I've got a very understanding wife that understands that I like my hobbies and free time and pastimes as well. And so she allows me to play some sports and meet up with friends and get a happy hour in once in a while. But having balance, I mean, if not, what's the point of it all? What's the point of working 14 hours a day if you can't enjoy a little bit with your family, with your friends, with your hobbies and your interests outside of what your work is?
I agree. He and I went on a bike ride, like 2 kids, like a couple weeks ago. He's like, all right, we're going to do it. I got this time. He sent me a calendar invite for the bike ride. I met him at his house. We went and rode on the beach. It was amazing, but that's exactly how you be productive, and I appreciate that. That's a tip that I learned from you.
Yeah. I mean, block it off, and then, I know how long it takes to get places.
Yeah, that's true, too. That's true as well.
Yep.
Very nice. I like that discipline, factor in there. You have to discipline yourself and, time and appreciating time, and others appreciate your time by you valuing time in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's our biggest form of currency, right?
Facts.
And that's why we try to earn money, is hopefully you could replace some of your currency with more time to do what you want.
Yeah.
A lot of times, as you know, the best things in life are free. It's those experiences, it's those things that you do, it's those relationships. It's not fancy, shiny things.
Well, can you please share with us a time when an individual has not appreciated your time and you had to practice discipline?
Yeah, there's times where I'm like, I'll have to let people know, right? If the 30 minutes meeting is going into 25 minutes, I'll let them know, hey, I've got 5 more minutes, so I got to get to my next meeting. And so I'm strict on it because I respect my next person's time that much, right? Or whatever task I have to accomplish. So I don't let people disrespect my time. It's just over, You're not going to, unless you're going to literally rustle me to the ground, peg me down, and chat with me about whatever harebrained crypto coin you're trying to sell me. I'm gonna get out of there, and I'll duck out, and I'll Irish goodbye right out of there if I need to.
When did you find? I'm curious, as I evolve into an early emerging entrepreneur. When did you identify that you had an entrepreneurial spirit? Like, what did you say? 100% confident that you could depend on your skills.
I've been doing sales jobs for a long time, even when I was a kid, right? You go around the neighborhood and sell some stuff. When you're in college, you sell some stuff, sell some advertising, something like that. And I thought sales was always great. And when you're in sales, you're kind of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Right? If you're not making money for whatever company you're working for, they're not paying you.
Yeah, they'll get rid of you.
Right. So you're basically self-employed. And I remember, I was in my first professional sales job in my early 20s. And I was probably 23, 24 years old, already one of the top salesmen in the company for loans. I was a subprime mortgage originator, and my clients were loan officers. And my manager called me, and it might have been 8:30 or 9 o'clock, and I had just woken up, and he heard it, right? He's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I just wake you up?" No, I'm good. What do we need? He's like, "No worries. I'll call you back later." I was like, "Damn, that was interesting." You know? That's my manager that called, and he apologized for waking me up. It's 9 a.m. You know?
Right.
But the point was that I was his top producer. I was making him money. He was just calling to be courteous,
Right.
Not that I had to do anything extra, because he's like, "Yeah, you're doing it."
Right.
But then I'd get that call, "Hey, why don't you buy a boat? Why don't you get a second girlfriend?" It's yada yada. It's like, pick up your expenses, because I want you to produce more.
Sure.
Because I was like, I'm doing good at top number one,
Right.
but he wanted me to go higher, which was an interesting way to incent it. So that was kind of my first foray into kind of being an entrepreneur, because it wasn't my own business, but I had to do sales. And so when you're in sales, you're in I Inc., right? That's your job, right? Whatever you're selling. And if you don't, you're not getting paid.
Yeah.
Just like if you own your own business. And even when you own your business, it's a sales job. You have to execute, but you got to convince someone to work with you first.
Sure. Yeah, earn their trust, and if they like you, they usually do business with you more times than not.
Yeah, I would argue every job is a sales job, because even if you're not selling something, you still have to persuade your manager you did a good job.
Yeah.
That goes back to that customer experience.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, with the ADUs units and, your multiple businesses, the value of customer experience? How do you keep that?
Well, before we started our company, my partner and I identified the problems with the current setup and the things that people gripe about most when working with contractors, right? They're always over budget, and they always take way too long. Okay,
Right.
We're going to solve both those problems by doing a lot of due diligence and invest in the project significantly and understand it before we start executing. So for example, even on a basic ADU project, it takes us 5 to 6 hours to put together a detailed estimate and proposal for the client, right? We don't just give you that one page that says, build ADU, $200,000, right? Our documents are 6 to 10 pages long that count out the windows and the sizes, that count out how many light fixtures there are, that give you allowances for your faucets and your cabinets and your hardware, so you know exactly what you're getting. And we've calculated this all out into a longer spreadsheet that's now condensed into this proposal, so clients understand exactly what they're getting, right? So that's one thing that clients appreciate a lot, right? They might say, "Oh, your price looks higher than the other contractors," and we'll see the other contractor's estimate. It's one page. It says build an ADU. It's like, what's included in this? I don't even know. I don't even know if this is apples to apples, right? Have you checked their references? Do they do their jobs on time and on budget? Right? If they say it's 150 and we're saying it's 200, did they actually finish those jobs at 150? Right? Because I'm finishing my jobs at 200. It's unlikely they finish their job at 150.
Sure.
And so by taking care of that and then having coordinated, organized project managers that understand what their deadlines are for it, because we have Gantt charts, right? Those charts that say step 1 is 1 week, step 2 is 2 weeks, and they know when they have to start and finish each trade to build something.
Which is good.
And we stay on that timeline. We put in some buffers, right? Ideally, we set expectations and we exceed them instead of set expectations and disappoint them.
Sure. Yeah, let's talk about the power of an ADU for people in San Diego, but this show's global, so some folks may not know about it, but how can an ADU help somebody in San Diego to afford where they live now?
Even breaking the acronym down, ADU.
Sure.
Some people might not know.
Yeah, absolutely. Accessory dwelling unit, ADU, right? It's basically a guest house. You can build a fully detached or attached unit that has its own address, that has its own kitchen and bathrooms and roof and windows and front door that you could rent out or house your family at. And so because of the housing crisis, there's bills that have passed several years ago in California that take it from, prior to those bills being passed, only 5% of housing would have qualified to build an ADU because of restrictions they had for parking and setbacks and easements and density and zoning, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, that would 95 out of 100 people that applied would say, rejected, you can't build one. Now those laws have changed where 99+% of people that apply can get an ADU built.
Nice.
Right? So now it's opened this up a lot more so everyone can get an ADU on the property. It's like, which is a gold mine because you can build properties in San Diego for so much cheaper than you can buy it.
Yep.
Right? So prime example I can give you is, say for example, you're building an ADU for $250,000, right? About an average price for a good-sized ADU. Rent on anything is $2,500
Yep.
at the cheapest. So let's go conservative and say you rent it only for $2,500. Where in the world could you buy something for $250,000 and generate $2,500 a month?
Nowhere.
Right? And so when I explain the economics of an ADU, it's not can you afford to build one, it's can you afford not to build one.
Right.
Are you that independently wealthy that you don't want to give up 400 square feet of your backyard to build something that could generate a few $1,000s a month for you in income, right? And then when you factor in depreciation, tax strategies, cost segregation, et cetera, those numbers increase, right? Now, the ADU I have behind my house generates a significant amount of income, but because of the tax strategies I use with cost segregation and depreciation, I actually show a loss on that thing.
Okay.
And this is how investors that own multiple units stay rich. You know, they're not paying much tax at all,
Sure.
right? And everyone gets cranky that these guys don't pay any tax, but it's because there's tax loopholes that benefit people that are property owners. And when you own your own property, you can't depreciate it the way you can an investment property. And even if it's on the same yard, you can separate that unit out and treat it like an investment property fully and take the advantage of all the tax laws.
And that's beautiful because we're speaking of business. And, of course, knowing the books is the basics of business. What tax advice, what other, I don't want to say loopholes and give all your secrets away, but what have you experienced and learned over time, tax-related, business, booking-related, accounting-related, that you can share to some listeners? Because when tax season comes, people start sweating.
Yeah, I mean, tax people are worth the payment. Typically, whatever you pay them, they could make back 3 times X in terms of savings for you. So
get a good tax like CPA or
yeah. And keep talking to more people, you know, because your guy doesn't know everything,
right.
and that's where it's important to trust your people, but then also kind of verify, trust but verify, because like
do your due diligence.
If you think you have someone good, and then you don't know until you have someone better.
Yeah, that's
right.
true.
You don't know how much money you're losing until they do a reverse audit and say, let me go back a few years and see if they did it right, or if I could save you another $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 here or there.
Right.
Same with me. I know what I know, and I know what I don't, and I know I'll always question it, and I always tell people, this is what I know. Please tell me if you got something better information, because I'm humble enough to take it. Tell me. I don't know. But property taxes is a key thing that people don't know about, right? If you bought a house 5, 10, 20 years ago, you're locked into that tax basis on that property with only a 2% increase every year because of Prop 13, right? Mm-hmm. Which is nice, right? Because some people bought houses when they were $100,000 in San Diego, and that's nice because now your house is worth $1 million.
Right.
But you're not paying taxes on $1 million because that's $11,000 a year, right? You're paying taxes on $100,000. Maybe over those years it's gone up to your assessed value up to $150,000. So maybe you're paying $2,000 a year, right? And you're thinking, well, I don't want to build a $250,000 ADU because what if they reassess my property? And that's not the case. They actually just add on the value of the ADU and blend it with your current assessed value of your current property. So you do have to pay more taxes, but it's not as much as if you had just bought and sold a new house and had to pay market value for it, right? So that's a little tax tip that people don't know. That actually I just learned recently, a couple of years ago as well. I was like, okay, that's good to know, because I wasn't sure how that property tax changed when you build one of these things.
So, but it's been better for you since you put the ADU back there and helped you, make your mortgage payment. And
for sure, yeah. I mean, and that's kind of a special situation where I'm in a high rent area where my rent pays my entire mortgage, and so my wife's asked me, what do I do if something happens to you? I was like, hopefully make enough money to pay groceries because you can live here for free. And that's it.
Very nice. Very nice. What is the life expectancy of an ADU?
Yeah, same as a house.
Same as a house.
Maintain it and it'll last forever, right?
Nice.
That's a nice thing about stick built. At least 100 years, but probably longer. Modular stuff, depending on the quality that you purchase, can vary, right? It's kind of why mobile homes depreciate in value. But a nice stick-built property appreciates in value.
Right.
So yeah, indefinitely if you maintain it right.
Very nice, very nice. Because I'm noticing that's a new way. People are dropping them in the back of their granny flats or near granny flats and making it. That's a new the New Modern Way. Where can we find more and learn more, discover? How can we find you? And
Yeah, absolutely. I've got my company website at calhomco.com. So it's that's easy to find. I've got associated YouTube pages, the California Home Company. I've put together playlists on there to teach you all of the basics on building an ADU, the costs and times associated with it, the tax benefits, the tax consequences, etc. And it's been useful. People call me and say, I've got 100 questions for you, and I'll ask them to watch those videos. And then I'll say, those are great videos. I don't have any more questions. Let's get started. Saves me 45 minutes of breath.
absolutely.
And so those are good videos, and it's me speaking. It's not like someone else, or it's me just going through the same stuff that people ask me all the time about. Where do I start? How do I do this? How do I pay for it? And what's it going to mean? How much is it worth? What's the tax benefits? Those kind of things that we've already quickly talked about, that I detail and give examples about.
Outstanding. If you could, if you had your choice to have a 3-bedroom apartment complex with 4 units, or if you can have, let's say 6 ADUs in La Jolla, what would you go for?
I've heard this. If you're giving them to me, I'm taking the La Jolla properties. I don't know where there's 4 units at. But if the 4 units in La Jolla, if it's apples to apples, equal value and equal, return on investment in terms of rent. The thinking is that multi-units are easier to maintain because you only got 1 roof to replace,
Right.
instead of 6.
Okay.
You only have 1 foundation to maintain instead of 6. You only got 1 sewer line to maintain instead of 6. So multi-units are nice because the repairs might be more expensive, but they're for all of the units, right? So if you break it down per unit, it's a cheaper price because you get the economy of scale of having multiple units under one building.
Yeah, so basically what he's saying, the power, so if I already own a house and I have this space in my backyard and I want to get investment property, instead of going out looking for investment property out here when average home price is over $800,000, you could build an ADU for $250,000 or build 4 ADUs, and then you get 25, 25, 25, 25, and they're all in the backyard with their own door, their own entry, own bathroom, and they're not coming through your home. So that's what I hear from it.
Correct. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can convert a garage, you can build a second story, you can put it in the backyard, you can make it off your alley, whatever the setup is. People forget. They're like, oh, there's no space in my yard for an ADU. I was like, well, do you have a second story? No? Okay, well, we could build one. And that's where you can put that unit, right? So people forget that you can do that there. And you can build small ADUs, 200, 300, 400 square feet, and they don't have to take up a lot of space.
And then you could rent them to college kids, or you get to pick the client base, or can you Airbnb ADU?
Technically, no.
Okay.
Right, you got to do 30-day minimums, but those are kind of midterm rentals. So you could furnish it and still rent it for 1 to 6 months to traveling nurses, traveling executives, traveling business people that want to just come with a suitcase but not stay in a Staybridge Suites for 6 months.
Sure.
Those extended stay hotels, they're not that great.
No, there's a lot of bad stuff going on, and I had to stay at one. My house flooded once, and there was a lot of interesting characters outside the place.
Oh, right.
I stayed there for like a week before I could get a place.
I've stayed at those places for months at a time, and it's always sad. I remember finding myself sadder than I wanted to be.
You gentlemen have it better than me. I stayed at the High Penny Inn.
Yo, man, High Penny Inn?
Yeah, at the High Penny Inn. Next to a laundromat. So
No.
But that's when I learned that I had an entrepreneur spirit, because it was sink or swim.
Okay. That's true.
And, so on this entrepreneur journey, it's always a pleasure to learn and from others, and that's why I'm inspired. When did you know that ADUs is the wave of the future?
I started my construction company in 2018, and those laws started passing in 2017. And every 6 months or a year, they passed some new ones that loosen the restrictions even further. But right in 2018, I was like, look, this is it. I'm going to learn up and teach people about it and let people know that we're the construction company to call for these things. And so, now that's 60, 70, 80% of our total volume of business is just ADUs, which is great, because it's good work for us, because as a construction company, remodeling someone's house is a can of worms, right? You open up a wall, you take up some flooring, and you find some problems, and you hate to tell the client, oh, bad news, XYZ is bad, and we didn't know until we opened the wall.
Right.
Versus building an ADU, it's like, okay, there's dirt, and it's short of, finding something horrible in the ground,
Right.
We're going to build this thing,
Right.
without any hiccups. So that's been nice because I knew there was the need for it. I knew the numbers made sense. I knew that I could make sense of it in a way where people would say, I couldn't afford not to build one of these things, right? And that would be the driving force of this. And now, hopefully, if I've provided enough value, they'll hire our company to do it.
Absolutely. As you being, the visionary entrepreneur, having the family foundation, what is next, for you? Because I'm inspired by your story and by the legacy that you're building. What's next?
Yeah, the multi-units. There's a lot of opportunities in San Diego with other bills that have passed and legislation that has passed to create more housing units, right? Things like SB 10, things like complete communities, transit priorities areas where there's these zones and overlays that the city government has put out saying, here in this area, you could take this single family house and build a 10 unit. Right? And guess what? You probably could avoid even doing parking.
Right.
Right. And now there's a huge opportunity to find those properties, purchase them, get it developed, and now I own a 10 unit. Right. So now that's what I'm working on next, is just playing some real life Monopoly and stacking some doors.
I was going to say that real life Monopoly. I like that.
Yeah. So I mean, that's the goal, is because you start off with single houses, the cheap ones that you can buy, and then you can keep getting more expensive houses. On my way over here, someone asked if I wanted to buy a $5 million house as pre-foreclosure.
Sure.
Right. Guy's distressed. He needs the money. He needs to close and sell before he loses his house. Yeah, if the numbers make sense, I'll buy that house.
Right.
Right. Because good deals pay for themselves. Right. With the investment deals, they're just longer holding, because you might have to do 1 or 2 years of sitting in plan review with the city before they approve it to build it. So now it's like, can you stomach it, and can your bank account hold those holding costs until it's ready to build, and then build it? But that's why reviewing the deals is important, and getting those leads is important, right? I want to see 10 deals so I can say no to 9 of them, but that one is going to hit.
Absolutely.
And like you say, knowing the numbers, it's all in the numbers, what those numbers are before we even start.
Yep, absolutely. And so that's what's next. I mean, getting to those bigger projects, as successful mentors of mine have told me, doing a $5 million deal is just as hard as doing a $500,000 deal.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah. And it's one of the key mindset changes that happened for me years ago is I was out with, years ago when I looked around, I was starting to get successful with business, and I was like, well, how come all my friends are, just kind of, they're all right, but they're not killing it. And so I needed to kind of upgrade my network of people. So I reached out, and I was reaching out to people and trying to find out who's doing what, hanging out, trying to meet up, doing poker games, whatever I can do to get people at the table with me that were more successful than me, right? And surrounding myself with people more successful than me has given me opportunities, 1, and 2, leverage. Right? Now I know that if I've got a deal that I'm with conviction believe is a good deal, they're going to back me on that. Right? They'll be like, oh yeah, and so one of my friends said it best when I was like, I said to him, I wish I could do big deals like you do, right? Because he's buying $20 million hotels and yada, yada, these kind of big deals. And he's like, you can. I was like, what do you mean? I don't have that kind of bank account. Right. He's like, you don't need to. You know me, and I do, and I got your back. I was like, aha. Yep. It took a second, but that light bulb went off. I was like, interesting. So if I could put the right deal together,
somebody
you're in
will buy it for you. Yeah. I mean, that's the key is finding the opportunity. It isn't the money. That's what everyone always forgets.
Right. And so doing that analysis and figuring that out, that's the value add, right? I found a deal, talking to the seller, and the numbers make sense to me. Do they make sense to you, Mr. Investor?
What do you think?
Right.
I think that's good. If somebody wanted to bring you a deal, what's the best way to do it?
Yeah, I'm easy to find. You can find me on my website. You can look me up by name. I'm easy to find. But yeah, you can call me, email me.
Make sure you know your numbers. Don't overprice it.
Yeah. People are very aspirational on pricing, right? I mean, I saw one in Claremont today. They're like, buy for $1 million, sell for 1.5. And I'm like, well, the 1.5 is on a canyon, with infinity views.
Yeah.
Versus my little weird lot here that's 5,000 square feet. It's not apples to apples. Right? No. And so it's like I can't change the location. I can't move this house to the canyon.
Have you seen a change in the industry with rates going up?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, houses are sitting on the market a little bit longer. Price reductions are happening where agents are still pricing aspirationally based on the market a month or two ago, and that's not the real pricing anymore. So they're having to drop the price because they bought the listing. And so people are still transacting. I think the thing is, mortgage rates are up, but you can get jumbo mortgages under 4% still.
Yeah.
And people don't know about that, right? And if you just go to your regular loan officer, they might not be aware of all these products. Even credit unions can get you ARMs, which, most people would say, oh, those are risky. Mm-hmm. You can get them in the 2s.
Yeah. Until the market changes.
You can get a 5-year fixed, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the 2s. That should be enough time to get you into another market where hopefully rates are back low again, so you could go into a 15 or 30-year fixed.
I agree.
At a decent rate under 4%, right? Because now all those are over 5% right now. That's expensive, but when you think about sitting on the sidelines and continuing to pay rent, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, because not only are you still paying someone else's mortgage instead of your own, you're losing out in the potential appreciation, right? Could there be a correction in the market? Possibly. I don't know if it could. Maybe regionally, right? Maybe in some parts of the country, but probably not all parts of the country. And then also, over the long term, I wouldn't ever tell someone, buy a house today and for sure you'll sell it for more money next year. Well, that's a fool's thing to think, right? But buy a house today, could you sell it for more money in 5 to 10 years? Most likely, right? I'd give you 95% chance of that happening.
Sure.
Right?
Well,
so over the long run, it's going to work out.
Well, Henish, I want to thank you so much for being on the show, and you're a great friend of mine, so this was a treat for me. But I'll make sure that we post your information so that people could use it as a resource. And you have anything you want to say about?
Yes, I want to say I've been inspired, and from our sit down, I've learned that your network is your net worth.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. He's definitely somebody to have in the network, for sure. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys. That was a pleasure.
No, our pleasure. Thank you for taking the time out your day, and I know you got to get home to your family, so it's a wrap.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, sir.